Assalamu alaikum students, my name is Anam Ashraf and I will teach you physics. Dear students, hope you all are fine and doing well and having healthy quarantine time at home and investing your time in learning. As all of you have know that HPS has arranged online classes for you, so we also going to start our online classes of the physics. So for this purpose, we are going to start our chapter number 4, that is turning effect of forces. Now, in this chapter, we will learn how the forces will act on different objects and what is the resultant effect of forces on the object. Okay, before starting, we are going to take a quick review of force. What is the force? Because in this chapter mostly we will study the forces. So what is the force? Force is a push. Force is a push or pull. Like you're pushing or pulling anything, you're applying the force. You can see the two men here. One is pushing the door and one is pulling the door. Both are applying the force. And here is another example that there are two boys there. They are pulling and pushing a box. As you see here, this boy is pulling the box and this boy is pushing the force. Both are applying the two forces, opposite forces over here, which is pull and push. Now, we are going to start on our today's topic, that is 4.1, the topic on your book, that is like and unlike parallel forces. So before going to like and unlike parallel forces, the question comes in your mind that what is the parallel force? So we discuss the parallel force first, that forces which are parallel to each other are the parallel forces. Either they are in same direction or they are in opposite direction. You can see here in the box A, there are two forces which are showing the same direction, which are in the same direction. And if you see the box B, you can see that forces F1 and F2 are in opposite direction. So parallel forces are parallel to each other. You know what is the parallel? If the two lines are making one angle of 180 degree with each other, like this. This is angle of 180 degree, and again this is angle of 180 degree. Both the lines are making angle of 180 degree with each other, and so that both are parallel to each other. Next, we classify the parallel forces into two categories, that is like parallel forces and unlike parallel forces. So we discussed that is like parallel force. Like parallel force is the force whose line of action are parallel to each other and all of them acts in the same direction. As you see here in the picture, that all the forces have line of action in the same direction, that they are acting downwards, and all the forces has the downward direction. You can see here all the forces are showing the downward direction. Now this is example from your book, that there are many apples in a bag, and you can see that the force of the apple is acting acting downward. Now we can explain this example like you can see there is a bag which is full of apples, and the weight of bag is due to the weight of the apples in it. The weight of every apple in the bag is due to the force of gravity acting on it, and force of gravity will pull all the apples downward. So So all the apples are acting. So all the forces acting on an apple is downward. Now this is the example from YouTube. You can see that in figure 4.3, it shows in the bag of apple in it. The weight of each apple is the weight, and the weight of bag is due to the weight of all apples in it. Since the weight of every apple in the bag is due to the force of gravity acting on it vertically downwards. Like you can see that this is an apple here, and the weight acting here down in the downward direction due to the gravitational force, and there is another apple, and also its weight acting downward due to the gravitational force. So you can see that the forces of the both apples are acting downwards, and both forces are parallel to each other and in the same direction. So we can say that these forces are like parallel forces. Right? You can see that both the apples have the forces which are acting downward like this, and all of apples have the forces which are acting downward in the same direction. So we can say that these forces are like parallel forces. Now you can see that these are some like parallel forces acting in the same direction. Just remember that like forces are those forces whose line of action is same. They are acting in same direction, maybe upward, maybe downward like this. Maybe they are acting upward like this or downward like this. Here you can see that it is the example from the daily life that a bus, many people are pushing a bus in one direction, that they are pushing the bus in the same direction. So line of action of all the forces of all the men are like this. They are parallel to each other toward the bus. Next is first one, we have discussed the like parallel forces, that all the forces are parallel to each other whose line of action and direction are same. But now we discuss the unlike parallel forces, the force whose line of action are parallel to each other and all of them do not act in the same direction. Like you can see that here are different forces that they are not in the same direction. They are in different directions. They are parallel. You can see that they are parallel, but they are in different direction like this. Like one is going up, one is going down like this. So here we have an example that an apple is attached with a string. So as you know that when anything is attached to the string, there are two forces acting on it. One is tension, which is the force due to the string, and second is the weight, which is the force due to the gravitational pull. Now tension is the string, and tension in the string pulling it vertically upward. As you know that tension is pulling it upward, and weight of apple is pulling it downward. Here two forces are acting in same line, in same direction, but they are opposite to each other, so they are unlike parallel forces. Here you can see again that weight of apple acting downward and tension is acting upward. Now as you can see that there are two forces, tension and weight, which are acting parallel to each other, but both of them are opposite to each other. Tension is acting upward and weight is acting downward. So these are parallel. These forces are parallel, but they are opposite to each other. So these are unlike, like you see that unlike one thing you have to remember, that unlike parallel forces are maybe along the same line. Like you can see that in case of apple, two forces are acting, tension and weight. Two forces are acting on the same line. So there are two cases that maybe they are acting on the same line like this, or maybe they do not act on the same line like this. Here on like take an example of seesaw. Let's suppose this is a scale. One student is stretching it upward with the force F1, and other is stretching it downward with the force F2. So what happened? So if you're applying the forces on any object from two edges, they are unlike parallel forces. So in this case, in second B case, you can turn the object. So from this you can say that if the forces are not in line like this, if the forces are not like in line, they can turn the object like showing in the part B. Okay, now we will take a quick review of all this. This is from your book. This is the text from your book. Now you can see that in figure 4.42, an apple is suspended by a string, as we already discussed. The string is stretched due to the weight of apple, and the forces acting on it are weight due to gravity and tension, the upward force. The two forces are parallel but opposite to each other. They are unlike parallel forces. Now you can see in the figure B, the two forces F1 and F2 are unlike. They are parallel to each other, but they are also in opposite direction, but they are not in the same line. So if the two forces are not in the same line, remember that. This is the point to remember. If the two forces F1, F2 or any two forces are acting along the same line, they are not acting along the same lines, so they can able to rotate the body. So now this was our topic of like and unlike forces. I hope so you understand. Like forces are those whose line of action are same. Unlike forces are those whose line of action are opposite to each other. Now in the last, if you have any query, any problem, any question, just write in the group and I will explain you there. And your homework is, your activity is search at least 3 examples of like parallel forces and unlike parallel forces. Thank you students. Allah Hafiz.